Okay, last class dynamic programming I have not recorded. It's better you try to check the notepad. From the notepad I gave all the coding part. You can refer that. Okay, now abstract method I said it is a method which is defined but not implemented in its class. But when we go for abstract class, we consider a class which contains at least one abstract method. If a class contains at least one abstract method, then we call it as that type of class as abstract class. And when we go for interface, interface contains all methods as abstract methods. Interface contains all methods as abstract method. But abstract class contains only at least one method as abstract. In abstract class we have one or many abstract methods. But interface contains all methods abstract methods. That's the main difference. That's the main difference. And the main point is in which situation we create abstract method, that you should understand. It's very important. In which situation we create abstract method. So abstract method should be created whenever you want to provide different implementations in different classes. Abstract method should be created whenever we require different implementations for same method in different subclasses. So this statement is very, very important. When we require different implementations, for same method in different subclasses, in that situation we create abstract method. We can provide different implementations in different subclasses for same method. So in that type of situation, you make the method as abstract method. So let us go with programming point of view. Let me go to SC38. And one more point you need to understand. When we implement abstract method in subclass, we have to redefine that method. So remember that. That means if whenever you want to provide implementation for abstract method, that method should be redefined. So redefinition is compulsory if you want to implement abstract method. And redefinition will be done in subclasses. Remember that. Okay, I'll try to take one program here. Class, say for example, generic, something like definition. I'm using public section and something like I want to use methods like, say for example, create, change and display. So these are the three methods I want to define. In generic class we are defining three methods here. But I don't want to provide implementation for these methods. I don't want to provide implementation for these methods in this class. I want to provide implementation in subclasses. Then you have to make that method as abstract by using abstract keyword. Whichever methods you don't want to implement, you make it abstract. And if a class contains at least one abstract method, then we call it as abstract class here. Class name, definition, abstract. That means now this class is abstract class because three methods are abstract here. Okay, now I want to implement these three methods in two different subclasses. I'll try to take like this. One is generic class I've created now. This generic class I want to implement in sales class. Sales class will implement. Sales class here, it is going to be the subclass. And that subclass has to implement the abstract class methods. And I will take one more class, customer class, and that also will be subclass. And it also implements the abstract methods of generic class. So this is what we are going to do now. In generic class we have defined three methods as abstract, and those three methods I want to implement in two different subclasses, sales subclass, customer subclass, and I want to implement different implementations in those different abstract methods. So in this type of situations, abstract methods will be useful. Different implementations in different classes for same method. In that type of situation, you have to create abstract class with abstract methods. Okay, let us see here. So I'm taking class sales subclass here. Definition inheriting from our superclass name, that is generic. That's a superclass name. And end class. And for this you have to provide implementation also. You have to provide implementation. And I want to take one more subclass. Let us copy paste this syntax. And here I want to use customer. And it is customer class implementation. But both subclasses are inheriting from abstract class here. Remember that. Both classes is trying to inherit same abstract class. And in abstract class we have defined three methods. All those three methods I want to redefine. If you want to implement those methods in subclass, it must be redefined. After redefining, then you can implement the coding. So that's a procedure you need to adopt. So let us redefine those methods. Public section, methods, something like create and definition. Sorry, redefinition you have to use. This is the approach you have to follow. Similarly, change redefinition and display redefinition. So I want to redefine these methods in customer subclass also. In customer subclass also I am redefining these methods. Now you are allowed to provide implementation for these methods. So let us provide implementation here. Method, the first method is create and end method. End method. Similarly, this method we are implementing, I want to implement some piece of code, say for example call transaction. Call transaction, say for example VA01. And you can implement the same method in customer subclass also. You can implement same method in customer subclass, but you can change the implementation. You can write the different coding here. Instead of VA01, you can use XD01. You can see method name is same, but implementation is changing in different subclasses. That is a main advantage when you go for abstract methods. So similarly, let us take one more method, change, and here I am using VA02, and this method I want to implement in customer subclass also. So after implementing, you can change the coding. That means you can provide different implementation. I am providing XD02 here. But method name is same, implementation is changing. That's the advantage. Similarly, you can implement one more method, display VA03 I am using. This same method I'll try to implement in customer subclass by providing XD03. So from this particular approach, I can say this point is valid. Now you can see this. In which situation we create abstract method? It's very simple. Whenever we require different implementations for same method in different subclasses. So this point is justified with this particular example. Most important point. And here, how to utilize these methods? If you want to utilize these methods, you can use your ABAP coding, and you can use your radio buttons and all those things under startup selection. I'm using startup selection here. And in startup selection, I want to create 3 radio buttons in one group, 2 radio buttons in another group. So I'll use same ABAP coding. You can see this. Selection screen, ABAP coding I want to use. And I'm creating here 3 radio buttons in this group. Create radio button, change radio button, display radio button. Similarly, I want to take one more selection screen with block B2. Block B2, 2 radio buttons I want to use. One is for sales, another is for, say for example, customer. So 2 groups, one group contains 3 radio buttons, second group contains 2 radio buttons. So this is how we are trying to do. Let me make this above. Now, if you want to utilize abstract class methods, then you can follow this approach. We can define object reference, type ref to that abstract class name, generic, and you can use object for subclass, that means sales subclass, type ref to, and that is sales class. I want to define one more reference, object customer, type ref to, something like this. So here you have to understand some important points. We can create object for subclass if all abstract methods are implemented. Remember that. We can create object for subclass if all abstract methods are implemented. But we cannot create object here for abstract class. We cannot create object for abstract class because abstract class is not fully implemented. Remember that. Because abstract class is not fully implemented. So we never try to create object for abstract class. Remember that. We don't create object for abstract class, but you can define the reference to abstract class. We can define the reference to abstract class, but we don't create object. Remember that. So let me write here also abstract class. We can't create object. I gave the reason here because it is not fully implemented. Because abstract class is not fully implemented. Don't forget this. Okay, for interface also you can't create object. We cannot create object. We cannot create object for interface also. Remember that. Because interface does not contain implementation. Remember that basic point. We cannot create object for abstract class. We cannot create object for interface. We cannot create object for interface because interface will not have any implementation. Interface doesn't have any implementation. Remember that point. These are the general principles. I am not explaining these principles with respect to our code. Our code is different, but these principles are valid for all the programming stuff. Wherever you go in real time, these are the principles you have to follow. So now, here what we are trying to do is, we are defining reference to abstract class here. Generic is nothing but abstract class here. So we are not creating the object for abstract class, we are just defining the reference. But what I want to do is, I want to create object for sales class, that is obj underscore sales For sales class, I'm creating the object. And you can also create object for OBJ customer. You are allowed to create object for subclasses because they are fully implemented classes. All abstract methods are fully implemented, so you can create object for those subclasses. Remember that. And for abstract class, we define the reference, but we don't create the object. The most important point, most of the people will get confused here itself. Here we are creating object for sales class because sales class is fully implemented. That means all abstract methods are implemented. Similarly, for customer class also you can create object because customer class is also fully implemented. That means all abstract methods are implemented. Remember that. Now what I want to do is, you can check the radio button conditions. If first radio button is selected, say for example, if sales radio button is selected, sales radio button is selected, else if customer radio button is selected, and you can put end if here. So, and at the same time, I want to use some more if conditions here. Create, change, and display. Okay, now, so first of all, let us understand first two radio buttons. So here, if first radio button is selected, I want to assign sales subclass object to abstract class reference. What is a sales subclass object? OBJ sales, that is an object. That object can be assigned to its interface reference. What is that interface reference? That is nothing but OBJ ref. Okay, let us not get confused, so let us make it like reference here. So what we are trying to do is, subclass object, sales subclass object is assigned to abstract class reference. Remember that point. So this is always possible. We don't create object for abstract class, but what we do is, we create object for subclass and we'll assign that object to abstract class reference. Remember that, the most important point. Similarly, if second radio button is selected, then you can assign object, customer object, you can assign it to that abstract class reference. So here, customer subclass object is assigned to abstract class reference. So these lines are going to play a vital role in our object-oriented programming. If you understand these tips, you can easily call the methods. So that means abstract class reference can call the methods of subclass 1. It can also call the methods of subclass 2, subclass 3, subclass 4, whatever it may be, when you try to provide this type of assignment. On subclass, on abstract class reference, On abstract class reference, you can call the methods of first subclass, second subclass, third subclass, etc. That is advantage when you try to assign, when you try to use coding like this. Let me write that. Let me write it as a note. On abstract class reference, we can trigger methods of, for example, first subclass. This is just for our understanding I'm writing. You can call the methods of second subclass also. And third one, you can call the methods of third subclass, etc. That is also one of the advantage here. On abstract class reference, we can trigger methods of first subclass, second subclass, third subclass. So in order to do that, we have to implement the code like this. We have to implement code like this. This coding is going to play a vital role. Similarly, you can see this one. This is what we are trying to do. The most important in object-oriented programming. Once if you understand this, you can easily call methods with these options. So I mean to say this notepad, whatever I've written, all the points are important. If you can overcome these things, you can call any methods very easily. Okay, so what we can do is now, here, if create radio button is selected, then you can use reference. On reference, you can call that method create. And if change radio button is selected, you can use reference. Then you can call change method. If third radio button is selected, you can use reference display. So now this will complete your programming. Let me check any syntax error. Let me check the syntax problems. Okay, what's our class name? Here the subclass name is sales subclass. So let us use that here. Sales subclass and customer subclass. So it is activated. So when you execute, I think it may take some time to open those transaction codes. So it is opening create sales order. If I select customer and create, it has to open customer creation T code. You can see this customer creation. And if I select sales and display, it will open display sales order T code. And if I select customer display, it will open that corresponding customer display T code. So These are the advantages you have to understand when you make any method as abstract method. When you make any method as abstract method, these are the advantages you can get it. And when you're writing the programs, you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful on some of the points. One of the point is you don't try to create object for abstract class. You try to define the reference. And you have to create object for subclass, and subclass object can be assigned to abstract class reference. That's the point you need to understand. Subclass object is assigned to abstract class reference. So this is also nothing but it's a type of typecasting. When object of one class is assigned to reference of another class, then we call it as a typecasting. Remember that. Now, the same program, I want to do it with global classes. So let me go to SE24. But before that, I want to highlight some of the points here. Just observe. If I make abstract method if you make abstract method, say for example in private section, so this is not valid. Your abstract method should not be in private section. You can see the syntax error. You can see that private methods cannot be redefined, so you can't declare abstract methods in private section. You'll get error. And say for example protected section. If I make abstract methods in protected section, now let us see whether it throws error or not. Let us understand here. Here you can see whenever you redefine a method, you should not change its visibility. That means you can declare a method in protected section, but when you are redefining also, it should be in protected section. When you are redefining, it should be in protected section. That is a error it is trying to display. Protected section. Now there won't be any problem. You can see this. Create is not. Okay, here you can see you are trying to call protected section method. Okay, let me check what's the problem. It is in protected section. We are defining in protected section. Okay, let me check the syntax error once. Okay, so here you can see whenever a method is in protected section, that protected section method you can't access from outside the class. Remember that. You can't access from outside the class. So this executable code is written outside the class. Remember that point. So from outside the class, you can't call the methods which are in protected section. Remember that. So let me give one conclusion here. Abstract methods can be declared only in public section, there won't be any problem, or it should be in protected section, but not in private section. Remember that. Abstract methods will be declared only in public section or protected section. And the most important point is if abstract method is declared in public section, then in subclass also that method should be redefined with public visibility. then in subclass also that method should be redefined in public section. So that means visibility should not change. Whenever you declare abstract method, the visibility of abstract method in superclass and in subclass should be same. That's the point I'm highlighting here. Now, say for example, if abstract method is declared in protected section, then in subclass also that method should be redefined with protected section. That is the point you need to understand. These are the rules you have to follow. And we need not discuss about private section because abstract method will never be in private section. Remember that. Abstract method never be in private section. So you need not worry about that point. In superclass, if the method is in public section, while redefining also, the visibility should be same. Visibility means it should be in public section. In above class, if it is in protected section, in subclass also it should be in protected section. Otherwise, you'll get errors. Remember that. And one more point you need to notice, abstract methods which are in protected section. Abstract methods which are in protected section cannot be executed from outside the class. Remember that. That's the reason why you are getting error earlier when I was activating. Abstract methods which are in protected section cannot be executed from outside the class, but within the class you can access. So these are the points you need to take care when you are dealing with abstract methods. And let me give one simple diagram here so that you can understand. Okay, here itself I'll try to write it. Here I'll make it public section, protected section, private section. So public section method can be accessed. Public section method can be accessed in same class. In same class, private section variables, private section methods you can access. And protected section variables, protected section methods can be accessed in same class. Remember that. I'm using yes or no here. And private section variables, private section methods can be accessed in same class. Remember that. Now let us think about from subclass. From subclass, you can access public section. From subclass, you can also access protected section. But from subclass, you can't access private section. That is not possible. You have to remember this diagram. And moreover, from outside the class, you can access public section. And from outside the class, you can't access protected section. From outside the class, you can't access protected section methods, protected section variables. And from outside the class, you can't access private section methods and private section variables. So it is not possible. So this diagram is going to play a vital role. When you are developing any simple application also, these principles you should remember. Within class, what is the behavior? From subclass, what is the behavior? From outside the class, what is the behavior? So you can easily understand from this diagram. If you violate any principle, definitely you will get syntax error. Okay, now I want to convert this local class program. I want to convert this local class program to global class. This is what we have done earlier. So I want to convert this entire program into global class. So let me do that. Okay, sorry. Before that, I want to highlight one more point. So here you can see, there is a create abstract method. When a method is abstract, you can't make that method as final. These two things should never be used. Whenever a method is abstract, you should not use final keyword. Okay, let us understand this here. It's very simple point. Let us understand what is final method. Method which cannot be redefined in subclass. If you don't want to redefine a method in subclass, then those type of methods you have to make it final. If a method has to be implemented, then it must be non-final. I mean to say, whenever you declare a method as final method, declared as final, that method cannot be redefined. In subclass. Remember that. A method declared as final, that method cannot be redefined in subclass. That is the meaning of final method. But what is abstract class here? Abstract method here. Let us understand that again. So abstract method will not have implementation in its class, but it will have implementation in subclass. So to implement abstract method, what is the condition? The method must be redefined in subclass. Remember this. To implement abstract method, the method must be redefined in subclass. But what is the purpose of final method? A method which is final, you can't redefine. That means these two are exactly opposite of each other. Final, if the method is final, then it should not be abstract. And if the method is abstract, it should not be final. Because they are in meaning, according to the principle, they are opposite of each other. That's the reason why you'll get error like this. You can see abstract method should not have final. Remember that point. Otherwise you'll get syntax error. You can see. Final, abstract keywords must not be used together. They should never be used together because in principle they are opposite of each other. So remember that. And what is final class here? Okay, that will go with whenever I go with inheritance, don't worry. So as of now, just compare these things. What is the meaning of final method? What is the meaning of abstract method? Once if you understand, then you will understand the principle. Final method and abstract method should never be used together. Let me write the conclusion here. Final keyword on method and abstract keyword on method. Should never be used together. That is a principle. Why? Because in principle they are opposite of each other. So they should never be used together. Okay, now let me convert this entire local class to global class. You'll understand some more points. Let us go to SE24. And first of all, I want to create one class with abstract methods. CL underscore generic. And whenever you create abstract class, so that class must be non-final. Remember that. If the class is non-final, then only you can inherit that class. Otherwise, inheritance is not possible. Let me make here final class. A class which is final, cannot be inherited. Remember that. A class which is final cannot be inherited. That means final class will not have subclasses. Final keyword is different, final class is different. So final class cannot be inherited. That means a final class will never have subclasses. Remember that. So now I want to create generic class, but it should have subclasses to implement the methods. So make it non-final. You should not check this box. You should uncheck. Then only inheritance is possible. So here in method section, I want to declare 3 methods: create, change, something like display. And these methods I want to make it in public section. Three methods are in public section. Now I want to make these methods as abstract. According to our local class program, I want to make these methods as abstract. So just what you do is select the method, go to detail view. You select the method here, go to detail view. In detail view, there will be one checkbox here, abstract. You have to select that abstract. So when you make method as abstract, implementation will not be available. Implementation will be deleted. Implementation will be deleted here when you make method as abstract. Similarly, I want to make other methods also abstract. Third method, go to detail view, make it abstract. Implementation will not be available, then save it. So as soon as you make one of the method as abstract, automatically class also becomes abstract here. You should remember that point. As soon as you make your methods as abstract here, the class also becomes abstract class here. Now you can activate this now. Now let us create subclasses. I am going to new session, C24. Let me create ZCL sales subclass. Let us create it. And subclass I don't want to inherit further. So you need not worry about this keyword. It can be final or non-final. You need not worry, because after this subclass I don't want to inherit anything. So now this subclass has to inherit superclass. Subclass has to inherit superclass, so you have to go to properties here. You have to go to properties, and there is an option here, superclass. There is an option here, superclass. Select that and provide your superclass name, ZCL_generic. And click on change inheritance. When you click on change inheritance, and if you go to methods, automatically you will get these methods here. From superclass, these methods are participating in subclass. From superclass, these methods are participating in subclass here, as soon as you provide superclass name. Now, what you need to do here, according to local class program, you have to redefine the methods. So, select this method and choose redefine option. Observe my mouse pointer. You can see there is an option, redefine. You have to select that. And here you can implement the code whatever you want. Similarly, I want to implement other methods. Select your change. Select this change method, go to redefine. Implement that code. So not only this, you can implement any other coding. So display, click on redefine. So now this subclass is ready, so you can activate. All methods are implemented, so you can activate. Similarly, what you can do, you can create one more subclass. Let me open new session, SC24, set customer subclass. So for customer subclass, you have to implement the abstract class method. So that superclass name you have to provide here. You have to choose superclass, provide that superclass name, ZCL generic, and click on change inheritance. Now if you go to methods, you'll get the methods automatically. You can see that. These methods, you have to select it, click on redefine. The same things what we have done in sales subclass. So you can use something like call transaction, but I want to use XT01. Go back. change method, click on redefine. There is a symbol. Select that, redefine. XD03. So the second subclass is also completed, so you can activate. Okay, now this entire code you need not worry. You can remove this entire code now. First of all, let me make a copy of this. So here you can remove generic class. You can remove that generic class because it is implemented in global class. You can remove this subclass because it is created in SC24. You can remove customer class because it is available in SC24. Now the remaining code, the startup selection code will be same. The startup selection code will be same. But in startup selection code, you have to change your class names. Now you have to use your global class names, ZCL underscore generic and ZCL underscore sales sub, ZCL underscore customer subclass. So just we are referring to SC24 classes here. All the principles are same. All the principles, rules, everything is same. Just we are changing local classes to global classes. That's the only difference. So let us activate. So you'll get the same output when you run this. You can see the same output when you run this. Same output. So just we have converted local abstract class to global abstract class, local subclass to global subclasses. Just we have converted. And one more point I want to highlight here for today's class. If any one of the abstract method is not implemented in subclass, assume that if any one of the abstract method is not implemented in subclass, then that subclass also becomes abstract class. Remember that. Just read that statement again. If any one of the abstract method is not implemented in subclass, then that subclass also becomes abstract class. That means you cannot create object for subclass also in this situation. So these are the points you need to remember, and this notepad is very important. Just try to understand each and every point very clearly. Okay, what I'll do is I'll stop here. In tomorrow's class, I'll try to discuss about interfaces and interfaces in WebDyn Pro and how to use aliases. So this we'll discuss tomorrow, but tomorrow I'll try to take class from something like morning. I'll take from something like 9 o'clock to something like around 12 o'clock I'll take, 12 noon. I don't want to confuse you now by continuing the class with respect to interfaces. First go through this theory part and practice this example, then you can understand interfaces very easily. So in tomorrow's class I'll discuss from 9 to 12, morning 9 to 12 I'll explain interfaces, how to use interface in WebDyn Pro and how to use aliases. Okay, so if you have any doubts you can ask me now. Hello? Okay, you can ask your questions now. Is these points clear or a little bit confusing?
Vijay?
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, Vijay, Vijita here. This is not regarding doubt, but for the dynamic programming, we didn't record the session, right?
Yes.
Will it be possible for you to share the previous recorded session of some other classes you have taken for dynamic programming? Is that possible?
No, what I'll do is I'll try to do that practically in my system and I'll record. I don't have previous recordings.
Oh, okay.
But I sent the total notepad. In that notepad everything is available. Including
Yeah,
coding.
that's fine, but it will be better if we have the video session, right? That's what I felt.
Okay, if possible I'll try to record that.
Thanks, Vijay. And even after the class, in case if we have doubts, is it okay? Because we don't find time to practice right now, going to office and coming back home. So like once a class is completed also, can we contact you through the phone to clarify some doubts if we
No
have?
problem. After the course or you are telling after the class?
After the course.
After the course you can ask me. I have opened one Facebook group also, WebDyn Pro group.
Okay, I'll join that soon.
I think you did not join, so it's better you join that. I'll respond to you.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
And
Vijay.
students, rest of the students, you also try to join in WebDyn Pro group. If you have any problem, I'll respond there. Most of the time I'll spend there in that group.
Vijay, are you aware of the workflow, SAP workflow stuff?
No, I'm not into that particular platform.
Okay. Thanks, Vijay.
And students, it's better you try to join in that WebDyn Pro group in Facebook. It will be definitely useful to you.
Sure, Vijay. I'll join.